You walk through the supermarket on a Saturday afternoon. Bright lights hum overhead. Rows of colourful packaging stretch in every direction. You grab a box of cereal, a bag of apples, a carton of milk. You don't think about where any of it came from. You just put it in your cart. But the real answer to what you're actually supposed to eat is far stranger than any grocery aisle. And it starts about 2.5 million years ago. Your ancestors didn't have refrigerators. They didn't have farms. They didn't have grocery stores or delivery apps or even a simple clay pot to boil water in. So what did they eat? The answer is not what you think. It's not the paleo diet you've seen advertised online. It's not all meat and nuts. And it's definitely not what the caveman caricatures on television would have you believe. You imagine a prehistoric human. Maybe a man with a spear chasing a woolly mammoth across a frozen tundra. Maybe a woman scraping animal hides by a fire. But that image is almost entirely wrong. For most of human existence, our ancestors were not big game hunters. They were scavengers. They were foragers. They were opportunists. And their daily menu would surprise you. Let's start with the evidence. You can't ask a Neanderthal what they had for lunch, but you can ask their teeth. Dental plaque, that sticky film you brush off every morning, is a time capsule. When it hardens into tartar, it traps microscopic bits of food, pollen grains, starch granules, charcoal from cooking fires, even fragments of plant fibers. In 2012, a team led by anthropologist Amanda Henry analysed plaque from Neanderthal teeth found in Iraq and Belgium. She found something unexpected. These Neanderthals were eating cooked grains. They were eating date palms. They were eating legumes. They were eating seeds that required careful preparation to remove bitter compounds. They weren't just eating woolly rhino steaks. You see, the old narrative was simple. Humans evolved as meat eaters. Our big brains needed protein and fat. We chased down prey and feasted on muscle and marrow. But Henry's work, and many studies since, have flipped that story. The real ancient diet was overwhelmingly plant-based. Starchy roots, tubers, seeds, nuts, wild cereals. In some regions, up to 80% of calories came from plants. The meat was a bonus, an occasional treat, a high-calorie prize after days of unsuccessful foraging. So, where did the meat myth come from? It came from the bones. In the early 20th century, archaeologists found animal bones with cut marks at ancient campsites. They assumed hunting was the main activity. They assumed men brought home the bacon, so to speak. But those cut marks don't tell you how often they ate meat. They only tell you that when they did, they butchered it. And the most common bones found are not from giant mammoths. They're from tortoises, rabbits, birds, fish, small game that could be caught by hand or with simple traps. In fact, a 2019 study led by Mickey Bendor at Tel Aviv University argued that early humans were more hypercarnivore than omnivore in some environments. But that study looked at isotopic signatures from bones, which only reflect the last decade of life. It doesn't capture the daily reality of chewing on fibrous roots for hours. Let's step back. Imagine you are a Homo erectus living in East Africa about 1.8 million years ago. You wake up at dawn. The sun is warm. Your camp is a few rocks and some branches. There is no fire yet, not for another 500,000 years. So everything you eat is raw. You have a heavy jaw, big molars, and a gut that works like a fermentation vat. You spend your morning digging. You find a tuber the size of your forearm. It's tough, fibrous, and bitter. You chew it for an hour. You swallow the pulp. Your gut bacteria break down the starches. That's your breakfast. By noon, you find a bush with berries. You eat as many as you can carry. In the afternoon, you spot a dead antelope that a lion killed last night. You approach carefully. You break off a piece of meat, you gnaw on it raw. That's dinner. Not a single grocery bag, not a single cooking pot, just raw, fibrous, often unpleasant food that required enormous effort to chew and digest. Then something changed. Around 800,000 years ago, humans learned to control fire. Richard Wrangham, a primatologist at Harvard, argues that cooking was the single most important event in human evolution. Why? Because cooking does something magical. It breaks down starches, it denatures proteins, it kills pathogens, it makes food softer and easier to digest. A raw potato is nearly inedible. A cooked potato is a fuel bomb. With cooking, our guts could shrink. Our jaws could get smaller. Our brains could grow because we didn't need all that gut tissue to process raw cellulose. Wrangham points out that modern humans cannot survive on a raw, wild diet. We would starve. Our ancestors were tied to fire the way we are tied to electricity. So what did ancient humans eat after fire? They ate cooked tubers. They ate roasted nuts. They ate charred meat from the occasional kill. But they also ate something that will shock you. They ate wild grains. Long before agriculture, humans were grinding seeds and grains into flour. In 2015, a team led by Anna Ravedin found starch residue on 30,000-year-old grinding stones in Italy. They found evidence of oats, cattails, and ferns being processed into a rough flour. They even found a stone with a residue that looked like a flatbread recipe. So your ancestors were making bread before they had wheat. They were making porridge before they had cows. They were experimenting with fermentation. They were brewing something like beer from wild barley. The hunter-gatherer was also a baker, a brewer, and a chef. But here's the counterintuitive twist. Ancient humans didn't eat a single type of diet. They ate whatever was available. That's the real paleo diet. Not a fixed menu, but a flexible adaptation. If you lived in the Arctic, you ate mostly meat and blubber. If you lived in the tropics, you ate mostly fruits and tubers. If you lived in a savanna, you ate a mix. And this flexibility is what made us human. Our digestive system can handle almost anything. We have enzymes to digest starch in our saliva, something even chimpanzees lack. We have a stomach acid pH as strong as a scavenger's, allowing us to eat rotting meat without getting sick. We have a liver that can process plant toxins. We are the ultimate omnivores. Now let's talk about the modern mirror. You walk into that supermarket today, your brain is still wired like your ancient ancestors. You crave sweet things because fruits were rare and calorie-dense. You crave fat because it was rare and essential. You crave salt because your body needs it and you can't store it. But you don't crave bitter greens or fibrous roots. Your brain doesn't recognize them as food. That's because for millions of years your ancestors had to work hard to get those foods. They didn't have them in abundance. So your brain pushes you toward the sugary cereal, the creamy cheese, the salted chips. It's not your fault. It's evolution. But evolution also gave you a prefrontal cortex. You can override those instincts. You can choose the roasted vegetables over the fries. You can choose the whole grains over the white bread. You can eat like your ancestors actually ate. Not the meaty fantasy, but the varied, fibrous, starch-heavy, nutrient-dense diet that fueled your brain's growth. And here's the final piece. Your ancient ancestors didn't eat 3 meals a day. They ate whenever they found food. Sometimes they feasted. Sometimes they fasted for days. Your body is still built for that cycle. Intermittent fasting, which is popular now, is actually just a return to the old rhythm. Your cells repair themselves during long gaps between meals. Your insulin sensitivity improves. Your gut microbiome flourishes on fiber from tubers and grains. You are not a modern human trapped in a prehistoric body. You are a prehistoric body living in a modern world. And the food that made you who you are is not in the center aisles of the supermarket. It's on the edges. It's in the produce section. It's in the bulk bins. It's the stuff that spoils quickly. It's the stuff that looks like it came out of the ground. So the next time you sit down to eat, remember this. Your fork is a spear. Your plate is a stone. Your table is a campfire. And the food you're about to put in your mouth, it's not just food. It's a conversation between you and every ancestor who ever chewed a root, roasted a nut, or shared a meal under a dark sky. You are what they ate. And what they ate was not a single thing. It was everything. And that is the strangest truth of all.